Just getting started. Just giving it a second. Came right on at 2:22, which is good. All right. I always like to give it a few minutes. I'm just going to start talking. I'm not even going to look at who's coming in. So let's just do that. So I got called today to come live and share some information that I have not been told to share. So that lets me know where we're at. A little bit, but it's important now. So we're going to do that. All right. So we're just going to give it a second. So I like to let everyone get a second to come in because it doesn't let my followers know that I'm on. So I don't know about y'all, but it's been very active, and I know everyone's kind of feeling all kinds of ways. All kinds of ways. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to give it just a few minutes for you to just hang tight. If you could tap the screen, that'd be great. I love you guys so much. How's everyone doing while we're waiting? How are you guys doing? How are the two of you doing? So, interestingly enough, I've shared a lot of cryptic messages with you guys, and obviously, and there's reason for that. Okay, I am being guided to not be cryptic about this, so I'm kind of. I know that the reason I'm called to share it right now at this day on a Monday is because it is going to land into the ears of someone who needs to hear it. I don't know who that person is or people are, but it's important, I think. So I'm listening. I'm listening to what I'm being guided to share and just going to do the best I can. So this is going to be specific. It might be a little bit niche. Specific to people who are on this journey who believe themselves to be on a spiritual journey or a spiritual path, navigating this world, and also believe or know themselves to be different. If you feel different, if you don't quite feel like you belong here, let's put it like that. This way we can make sure we get the right people in, because this is who I need to speak to right now. I need to speak to the people who don't understand this place. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm not going to be talking about politics or trans issues or any of that. We're not going to be doing that. That's not what I want to talk about. We're going to be talking to people on this journey, this spiritual journey, who know themselves to be different. So let's just give it a second. And I might have to repeat this a few times. So I'm going to give like a hypothetical. All right. So everything I say in this live is just all hypothetical. It's not real. It's not real, right? Not unless you believe it. Okay. So I talk a lot about the oneness, okay? And I talk about how we're all one. We all talk about how we're all one. We understand that when we become, yes, thank you, educational purposes only, that you understand the oneness, that everything is connected. We're all connected. And then we start to talk about things like source or God. And I know that for for the sake of helping people to understand, I know even I kind of distance us from God in the sense of saying like God is a creative energy. We are all fractals of God. And I keep it, because it is important for people to get this themselves. So if you know that you are different, and you've maybe even felt that a little bit your whole life, but if you've had what is called an awakening, this is a woman, by the way, whoever this is. Yeah, it is a woman, whoever this message goes to, or women, I don't know. A little further on this journey though, like done the shadow work. Okay. So if you've done the shadow work, you've done the healing, you're on this journey, you've done everything, and you're still struggling. Okay. You're still struggling with your downloads and what it means. I'm meant to give some clarification for those beings right now. Okay. So, no matter how we're indoctrinated, we're always indoctrinated to view God as something separate than us, okay? And than us. Like we were created by God, okay? We were like God created us, okay? And then when we view the oneness, we seem to leave God out of it as if we're not part God or part enough of God, okay? That is a part of the indoctrination of the civilization, whether you're religious or not. It almost seems arrogant, and I know this, to believe or say something like, I am a fractal of God. Like I say things like that. But I understand that when you say that to the average person, they're going to think that you're claiming to be something you're not, okay? That is the indoctrination. Okay, that is a big part of the indoctrination. Now I'm going to throw a hypothetical out. Okay, I drew a little picture. Bear with me. I'm not an artist, but if we view God as a directed point of energy for us, okay, and I'm gonna draw another one. If we understand realms, and this is going to be important too, okay? So if we understand realms, and if you know a little bit or you're starting to learn about what realms or dimensions are, you're confused as hell by it, hang around. All right, so if we took, I'm going to take this little drawing right here. If we took this, okay, this is important. And we imagine, pardon my little, if we imagine these smaller circles are lower vibrational realms, okay? And the bigger ones are higher vibrational realms, so they expand further in all the things. The split that you keep hearing about, the separation, the split, okay, the parallel timeline, all right, that is a merging of two realms, all right? That is two realms that are merging together. Now, this doesn't happen a lot. I'm going to show you. So what it's doing is this one, let's just use this one and this one. These are becoming one, all right? So that means that if you were in one realm, you are now coexisting with somebody in a lower vibrational realm. This will not feel like you are separate from them. This is not going to feel like you are in a different realm and they're in this other realm, although people will sell you on that. It's not going to feel that way at all. You're still going to get on these apps and this experience, especially, by the way, on this, and you're going to feel like you're in this lower vibrational realm. This is a part of where we're kind of like rattling and what the hell do we do and what the hell happened. A lot of people who, if you woke up and you feel like the world abruptly went downhill, okay, let's say it like that, then you were probably a part of the other realm. Now, I'm not going to go through why this happened and all the things, but I can explain this bit. When I tell you guys that we are fractals of God, I'm not going to pay attention. When I tell you guys that we are fractals of God, that's true, all right? So if we take you remember those little daffodils once they wilt and they turn into like a little thing that you blow, okay? So imagine this is a source of God, and imagine that God every so often pushes out little, like blows on the, okay? That's what happens. Those are God fractals, okay? God particles, God molecules, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is even scientific. So I'm going to say right now, in the last probably 70 years, 75 actually, 75 years, God has been blowing out these fractals a little harder, okay? All right. So what does this mean? So in the last 75 years, God's been blowing out these fractals, the source of creation. Okay, and this is a seed planted. This is important. So when someone is born, they have a soul put in them. Okay, in their avatar. Okay, and if you knew something like this was going to happen, okay, if you were aware that something needed to happen, that there was going to be a timeline merge, and you needed a lot of people to keep very high frequencies so that people wouldn't get lumped into the lower vibrational plane, you would blow really hard onto these fractals, and they would start to put into seeds into these people's souls, okay? So not a whole lot of difference in what we experience like in average, but let's just say that they're bigger fractals. Let's say they're bigger pieces, all right? Now, you would put these in specific people, specific avatars who would have specific purpose. In more particular, the brain makeup, the chemistry of the brain, to be able to handle a higher vibrational understanding, higher vibrational just frequency in their body, okay? So you put the seed. You put the seed into people and you allow it to grow. Okay, so what ends up happening is you have people typically who were really good people, stayed as good as they could throughout this world. And if they kept their kindness, this is important. If you kept your kindness, I've always told you guys, if you kept your kindness, no matter who you became, no matter how many ups and downs, no matter what, if you kept a kind heart, then that little seed that was planted in you would be activated. Okay. Activated. That's what the awakening is, okay? That seed. And what it does when that seed gets activated is it cuts off the cord of corruption. Now, I want to tell you guys what these cords are. A cord of corruption, or a cord as a whole, is essentially how we get our information. So if you view the brain more of a receptor or a receiver, okay, an antenna, that's the best way to put it, to information. If there was cords that corrupted your ability to receive it into your antenna, okay, there was static, there was somebody blocking it, all the things. This ignited fractal of seed of God, essentially, would rupture that ability to corrupt those communications, okay? This is what people who were, when we were asleep, okay, this is important, when we were asleep, those of us who were awakened, when we were asleep, this is why we were asleep. We were asleep because that corruption that went to our information cords was just that. It was corrupting our ability to understand to its totality what we were, what the planet is, what's going on, and everything. Okay, so that's why. So it's literally puts you to sleep, makes you normalize things that you wouldn't normally normalize. When that gets severed, okay, this is a jolt. A jolt. All right, I'm not gonna bullshit on that. It is a okay, and then you look back at all the things that you've experienced. You're like, how the hell was I ever okay with that? Don't beat yourself up. You had a corrupted cord. We all did. So if you had a kind heart, then you could receive the activation of this essentially God particle. Okay. And this goes from 75 years. All right. So if you are 75 years, no joke. Now it's not going to say there weren't a ton before. All right. And I talk about Yeshua. Yeshua was one as well. There have been a lot of different little spurts of it. This is the biggest one as far as my communication has understood. This is the biggest push out that has ever happened, and it has purpose. It had to be timed very specific to the world would be at this specific place right now. With two timelines merging, okay, and to prevent too many people from going down into the lower timeline, okay, the people who have these, what I will just call God seeds, or God particles, are meant to keep their vibration very high and also help others, okay? That is the whole reason you incarnated here. Now, the people who also receive these seeds, your souls are not new, okay? You have incarnated so many times in so many planetary systems. This is important. This is a part of why you start to remember what you were, what you are, because you get the better perspective of understanding of what's happening here and how to remedy it, because you have lived through so many different revolutions, evolutions of other planetary systems. That's why you got it. That's why your soul's old, okay? It is an old soul. You're an ancient. There's a lot of ancients here. So the reason I'm meant to say this is because I am not, and we are not the only ones who are aware of this. All right, this has been prophesized and it's been known about, okay? Additionally, we're not the only ones that understand realms, collapsing of realms, and how to pull people down. Okay, so this is a reason for the bombardment and the trauma, is to get people with these God particles inside of us to become apathetic. And when you become apathetic or obtuse, you start disconnecting from it. Okay, now this is hard, because if it becomes too hard to feel, and we start to forget why we're feeling it. Why are we feeling all this anguish and emotion? Why are we feeling all this confusion? Why do we feel like we're so different? Why do we not understand this world? Okay. Confusion leads to apathy. At some point, if you keep trying to play a game and you can't get the hang of it, you drop the game, right? You stop playing it. I don't get this. All right. And that's when you become apathetic. Becoming apathetic will start to disconnect the communication. And the reason for this is because you're already at a place where you're on the borderline of psychosis. Now, this is why the avatar's brain has to be a little bit different to be able to receive this. This is why they're targeting people with autism. I'm going to explain why. An average, what we would consider, they used to call Asperger's, but now they call high-functioning person with an autistic brain can disconnect their emotions enough to look at just about everything logically, okay, objectively. Because if they can do that, then you can't be emotionally brainwashed by pulling by what you would want things to be or what you would prefer things to be. Okay, your brain is too shut off from that. It's too quick to find the pattern. It's too quick to call a spade a spade. This is one of the reasons people with autism don't have good filters, is they just say it. They just say what they feel and they think. This is why so many children, there is nothing wrong with your children with autism. I want to be clear. There is nothing wrong with your children who are being diagnosed with autism. These are what are called indigo children. Okay, these are children born with no karma. They are of pure souls, and they are also ancient. All right, this is the group that carries the torch after we clear the path. All right, you understand? So the reason they're going after them, the reason they're coming after children with autism, is because that avatar's brain can handle this particular communication better than the average conditioned brain. Now, a lot of people I know have been lately diagnosed as adults with autism, right? They weren't diagnosed as a kid, but now as an adult they're being diagnosed. I want to be very clear. You likely are. I don't want to knock this. However, we don't have an accurate test for adults. All right? This is important. An adult can't be accurately tested for autism because we don't have a test for adults. We have it only for children. All right? However, I am not saying, no, my ex-wife worked in this. I swear it. I swear it. They have tests, I know, but they're not accurate. They're not seen as accurate because the part of autism, it can't be conditioned. That's why we test kids. But I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing that people are autistic and went underdiagnosed. I just want to be clear. However, if you have this diagnosis, if you were given one from a test or if you were given one from a therapist or your kid was given one, this is not a bad thing, okay? Especially if you got it all the way to adulthood with it going unseen, all right? All this means is that your brain is going to be better at pattern finding and objective thinking, which makes you less susceptible to brainwashing and emotional, cognitive dissonance and emotional driven thinking, okay? Because when we think with our emotions and how we want things to feel, then we start to align with people and entities that tell us the things that match what we would like it to be, not what it is, okay? This is why they're coming after them. Because these particles, when flourished correctly, this is why so many of us had to do all this shadow work and whatever, when flourished correctly, create divine adults, divine beings, gentle beings to carry the torch after we've cleared the path, okay? I need to say this, there are humans here who manipulated the education, the technology, manipulated everything about the human condition against humans so badly that they believed themselves to be gods. Okay. Now, this is no bullshit. They have quite literally used things, communications that were essentially delivered by gods. But if we think about this, why do so many religions have several gods? Several. Many, many, many. Okay. Many gods. Because that may be a little bit more accurate. If Source is a creation of energy, then it would have a lot of messengers, wouldn't it? Now, what would we call those messengers of God? Some people would call them angels. They're actually fractals of God. They're God, okay? So the people here, there are a lot of beings here who are unsure about their place. The reason that you're unsure is because there's too many humans here that believe themselves to be God and make a world to fit their narrative, okay? And even furthermore, it's because you are God. You are gods. You are God's returned. You are God's returned for the betterment of all, for the betterment of all of the species, to return it back to humans, to return free will. You're gods. Now, don't think that this is something we walk around arrogantly and say. This is a piece of information and knowledge that we carry when we start to feel out of control, when we start to feel defeated, when we start to feel that we have nothing to contribute. You are gods. You're gods. So what's more important to understand is that humans have created a fictitious version, several of them, and made sure that you would never feel close, all right? Made sure that you would never feel close. So when this moment happened, which was predicted and has been predicted, which was predicted and has been predicted, that we would feel far too nervous to claim ourselves as close to God or a piece of God or a fractal of God. Now, what do we believe God to look like? Gods to look like. There have been depictions of gods, ancient depictions all over the world. What do they look like? What do they look like? Some say they look like extraterrestrial beings, okay? Some say they look like extraterrestrial beings. Just to be clear, your true form, your soul's true form is your main essence, which is a form that would look more like an extraterrestrial. You can be perceived as that if you chose to, okay? Just to be clear, if it is possible. But this is why we're going to start seeing other humans, is because there is a realm where the technology was never hidden, we were never lied to about what we were, and we've coexisted for a very long time. And in this realm, the sitting president, and the one just above this, is sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, and Harris takes over. Harris takes over with a new election that will shift this particular timeline. God doesn't like tattoos. Wrong. Many of us have markings on us all over. So exactly. So if we think about realms, the one that we're in right now, And I'm not saying here, look, I want to be clear. I meant to tell people about this, not because it's what I want or what God's want or whatever. The entire system on earth needs to be removed. But in the meantime, understand that you're going to see the entire collapse. Now, do not think, this is what I meant to share, is do not think that because Harris regains the seat that somehow this is done. Somehow we've reached the finish line. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The entire system on earth, and particularly in the United States, needs to be overhauled. And what is the most important thing for every being who knows, who understands, who can hear what I'm saying to stick to, is you are meant right now to observe, to sit in stillness, to practice your medicine, and remember what you are. And if I tell you guys that you are gods, can you absorb that information without believing it to somehow make you better than other people or powerful in a way that egoic power suggests on earth? Do you see what I'm saying? The way we have perceived something like God in a hierarchy is just that, a hierarchy, a highest being, which was part of it. You would never accept your true divinity of what you are if you were too afraid of the condemnation that it might give you if you said it aloud. They taught you about a bad place. They taught you about a hell. They taught you about all these things. Because hierarchy within our systems didn't just create hierarchy within our government and our civilization. It created hierarchy within ourselves as beings, spiritual beings, which was incorrect. There are many gods here. Many. And yes, they all come from one creative source. So we could say that is a source of creative energy. What do gods fear? Do gods fear men playing God? Do true gods fear men playing God? You're allowed to believe in the Father. I'm not speaking to people who are devoutly religious. You are allowed to believe whatever you want. Very simple. Good, Stacy. Anybody who is a part of a major religion, and this is offensive to you, I'm not meaning to offend you, so this may not be a good life for you. This is very simple. I have no issue with Yeshua. I've had many communications with him, believe that or not. You don't have to. I was not religious and didn't really care to think on him too much, not in a bad way or a good way, but I have shifted my opinion on him very drastically. So I have no issue with Yeshua whatsoever. I wish more people worshiping in his name understood who he was. That's what I would say. And he was also a god, by the way. Very large fractal of God. So is his wife, Mary of Magdalene. He knew that. So if this seed grew, and I know, and this is why I've told you guys, I know who woke up, and I know who I know who you are. I know who you are. Because I do know who they chose to woke up. It was people who had this particular seed put in them and kept their kindness through all the things. And I'm sorry you had to go through all the things in your life that you had to. These were tests, and many people didn't make it out. Okay, many people allowed it to corrupt them, to corrupt their cord and corrupt their connection. Many beings. If you woke up, you didn't. Fucking congratulations. This is going to be hard, though. But I want you to remember that you are gods. You are gods returned to earth, and I'm not the only one that knows this. This is going to be particularly important with how you align yourself come the 31st, what you want to receive and how you view yourself worthy. This is why the shadow work is so important. I've always said, so you can accept what you are. And it's beyond some extraterrestrial being. It's beyond some person. It's beyond whatever you thought, most likely, unless you believe that you're one of the gods. And you are. So as we watch this, and it is important for us to watch, to observe, to do what we can. Okay, sure, you're allowed to believe that. Understand that your true power is in your energy. Your truest power is in your energy, okay? A part of why I've told people to go into community it was never to escape and get out of here because it's so scary. It was to heal, to connect with the Most High, so you would be shown. So whoever this needed to reach, I hope that it did, because I was very strongly told to come and say this. And I have not been told to be this transparent with you guys. And this is not a jab at anything. It's just listen to what I'm saying and imagine the response, or look at the response. It requires us to understand that God is not different than us. And not in an egoic way. Understand this, not in an egoic way. We're no better than anyone else here. We happen to have knowledge of how to correct this with energy. And the more that we deconstruct this reality, the more we can form a new one. But it requires deconstructing ourselves, and deconstructing ourselves requires us to understand that all the gunk that they told us about who we are as beings, about our Creator, about our civilization, was to hinder this moment in time. They knew it would be returned. Yeshua said to them he would return as an army. Do you think these types of timeline possibilities affect the Mandela effect? No, not necessarily. It can. Mandela effect is, I'm going to be very fair, the Mandela effect is a little bit, it's more of testing. What the Mandela effect is mainly, I'm not going to say 100%, but it's testing the memory of humans. So and this is true, if this is why you see people like, oh, if I Google something, because we're relying on Google to validate our perception of reality, can it shift somebody's belief of what they saw? Okay, so if I said it was Brownstein bears and you said it was Bernstein bears or whatever the heck it was, and we Google it, one of us is going to shift what we perceived our reality to be in our memory. It's to see how much you could get away with that. That's really what it is. However, you have other timelines, energetic timelines. Now, this is where I talk about splitting the atom of a molecule, okay? Anytime that you go, let's say that you go to a stop sign and you debate making a right or a left, and you make a left. An energetic version of you made a right, okay? So that energetic version makes a right and lives a whole life having made a right, but, again. So you have a lot of different energetic versions of you. This is why, but this only happens when our thought and energy is focused too much on indecision. So the more that we move in intuition, the less in thought that we are, and the more energetic fractals we get to keep, which means I don't debate my intuition. Intuitively, I don't give a lot of thought. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I mean this, once you've done the work, importantly, once you've done the work, you don't have to challenge your intuition. You can trust it. You see what I'm saying? You can trust it. The reason that we do all the pros and cons is because we're always in a place of indecisiveness because of all the repercussions of every decision that we make as formed by this society. Also set up so that we would make decisions and have lasting effects and have to contemplate every single move that we make, because that would split us into many fractals as well. When you walk with more of your intuition, because you can trust it, that you know that you're kind, you know you're going to make the right decision, you know you're not going to harm anyone, and you'll handle whatever happens, because you're that strong, you can do it, then you keep more of your energetic fractals with you. So what I would say is that you might get glimpses of in what we would call almost false memories of other fractal timelines, and these also can pop up in your astral. Like I have a lot lately. Okay, this is interesting. For 7 years, actually, on the 1st of November, I will be sober from alcohol for 7 years. Okay, I every so often have in my astral where I drink, and it's because I have an energetic version that didn't stop. See what I'm saying? So I have an energetic version of me, or likely several, that continue to do that. I don't know what they're doing. God knows. Being rowdy, I'm sure. But the point is that I have an energetic fractal that's doing that because I get glimpses of it. There's a lot of decisions that I throughout my life, and all of us, where I debated something and did or didn't do it. An energetic version of me did it. Okay. An energetic version of you. But when it comes to the Mandela effect, I'm going to say this, that's going to get even worse, and that is actually testing how much you can manipulate the trust in the reality and memory of a human. So if I am not firm and I know what this is, like I know what I saw, okay? I know what I saw, and I'm reliant on one of these, and it conflicts with what I know I saw. Do I keep trusting myself and what I see and what I perceive to be my reality? Look at the Fruit of the Loom situation with the girl. Now that was one that got caught. She is also autistic. You see, autistic people don't let shit go. When we know that we remember things, okay? So the reason that she stuck by this was she remembered a conversation with her mother about the logo, the cornucopia. She remembers finding out what a cornucopia was by her mother. Okay, this is a funny thing about, I don't say funny, but interesting thing about autistic people when they learn something is a lot of times they attach it to the surroundings, okay? They attach it to what they saw. They're very observant. So this girl absolutely remembered her mother explaining what a cornucopia was by the logo of the Fruit of the Loom, on the back of a Fruit of the Loom. And Fruit of the Loom tried to say they never had a cornucopia as a part of their logo. She had to go in and pull up patents that Fruit of the Loom had filed with the government to be able to have their logo, to catch them in this lie. So this is a good example of it. Absolutely. So returning back to it, there is going to be a lot of activation and a lot of information coming through at the end of this month, okay? Keep yourself worthy and mindset, open in mindset. And one thing I want to share, this, you can, they know that we're here. Okay, let's just say it like that. They know. And we can't be harmed by them unless we decide that we can. Does this make sense? Hey, Pinky. If we decide to drop to that lower vibrational plane and we decide that we could be harmed, okay, that we could be taken out. This is why I said the subconscious has to believe it's divinely protected, to be divinely protected. They can't harm us, but they can mute us, they can mess with our message, and they can bombard us to make us disconnect and to become apathetic. And it's easy. It's easy to become apathetic. It's easy to throw your hands up in the air and just be like, I don't understand this place at all. I want to go home. It's coming, okay? It's coming. But you have to keep anyone. I just mean as a whole. I'm not speaking energetically because I'm going to tell you right now, energetically, we are our biggest enemy energetically. And I'm not going to say there aren't things that'll get sent to us. Okay. I'm not going to say that. It's just when we have to consent to it. Let's say it like that. We have to consent to it, but they're going to keep sending things that we have to consent to. All right. We have to consent to it. I need to say that again. We have to consent to negative outcomes, negative perception. We have to. All right. I know this sounds how it's going to sound. It's important. It is important not to consent, to keep your vibration high. All right. And know that while everything is happening, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying these are NPCs because that is not a thing. It is that your power is in your energy. You shift this place by remembering what you are. You shift this place by looking the beast right in the face, by chasing, by running towards the storm, because you know what you are. If everyone believes, and I'll say this, if everyone believes in a God, what is greater than God? What could take you out? The only time that a God could ever be in danger is when a God doesn't remember that it's a God. Your energy is potent and powerful, and yes, they are going to try to get you to forget it. They are going to try to get you to doubt it. And this is why they're coming for autistic children. They can carry the God seed, what we would call the God seed, better. That's why there's so many of them. They're meant to carry the torch. We're meant to clear the path. It is an illusion. I've already left. And I know I've shared that with you guys before. I've already left. I am here in part more spirit than I am an avatar. Many of you are too. Many of us. So if you are coming across anyone who is sharing information about this journey, okay, understand that you are the star people. You are fractals. You are messengers of God, okay? You are that protected. And there is a purpose to it. It is not just to, when I tell you guys to decolonize your mind, it's because your energy is with your thought, is with your intention, is with what you project out. And it is important to know where to put that. We must return Earth and its land to its sacred keepers. I'm going to repeat that. We must return Earth's land to its sacred keepers. We told them we would. We told them we would. So that's why I talk to you guys about racisms and isms and phobias and all the junk, is because you have God energy. Make sure that you are putting it where it needs to go. We elevate from the most oppressed up. The most oppressed in these civilizations are also the most divine to Earth. It is imperative that it be returned because Earth is in danger without them. It was never meant to be like this. It was never meant to look like this. And humans were never meant to exist in this way. It wasn't the design of the human to exist in this manner. And I don't think that's going to be shocking to anybody. The thing about it, I do too. And in truth, a lot of people, I'll say this, there are many people around the world who understand this. They just keep it quiet. They keep it quiet. I'm not going to name places, but I will say this, there are people who understand, there are beings here that understand themselves as divine, so much so that they can do things that humans shouldn't be able to do. But they know to keep quiet about it. This is me staring at the beast. Don't keep quiet. Don't keep quiet, because the ones who woke up, I'm going to say this, if you are of European descent, there's a lot of you. Okay? There's a lot. You're meant to tip the scale. Okay? To return Earth's land to its sacred keepers before it's destroyed. And this is why I've said we cannot hold out for a divine intervention. We cannot hold out that something is going to come and save us. We're already here. What you need to save you is already inside you. God is inside of you. It's not some figure in the sky. It's inside of you. It's inside of many of you. But they have made sure to indoctrinate you to even consider that, to even think it for a moment that you had that energy, would be so arrogant, so full of yourself, and would be blasphemous, would be a direct insult. We are here to save ourselves. We are here to save the sacred beings. We are here to return this land to its sacred keepers and restore balance. Restore balance requires us understanding where the balance got thrown off and who did it. That's why we deconstruct. Because when you disconnect from the physical, living by the flesh, and you live by the divine, You see it as it is. You no longer feel attached to your ancestral heritage outside of what you want to. Meaning, you no longer have to subscribe, and this is important, to what is expected of you as somebody your complexion if you're my complexion. Go out of the bounds. You're divine. Rise up on behalf of all, and in fact, rise up on the sacred indigenous of this land, of all lands. It isn't just this land. The land of Africa, Asia, Europe even, Turtle Island. So if you have this power, and you're not the only ones, but if we have this power to return it, when we start pushing and we start building those bricks, we have God energy. We can push this out into the reality and create it. What's holding us back? The understanding that it's important that we do. It's important that we do return it. This is why. It's not just to elevate. There is no power. There is no, you're going to rise up to a kingdom and be praised and worshiped. If you think that way, you're not there. No one will bow at your altar because there won't be an altar for you. You agreed to that, and we know that. As fractals of God, you know there's no altars in worship. There is only love, and there is only balance, restorative balance. I'm supposed to just leave? No. You see, if here's the thing: if every single European descended person in the United States tried to leave, they would have nowhere to go. A, most countries don't want us, and B, there just wouldn't be room. Where would everyone go? The great thing about this is that, no, they weren't. No. The very first Homo sapiens, the very first humans were African, of what would be considered African descent. They looked something similar to somebody we'd see from Africa or Aboriginal. Those were the very first humans that God made. Those were the template, the first beings. European descended people, less melanated, didn't come for quite a while. Give it back to bacteria? No. I don't understand where you're going with this, but okay, we'll move on. Speaking of bacteria, there were certain beings that came here who didn't understand Earth very well, and they had a big issue with bacteria, and they were my complexion. They couldn't keep themselves alive on this Earth because they didn't understand bacteria or washing or bathing. Do you know that? Less melanated people spawned. They spawned. They didn't understand. So they made new rules. They didn't explain to me how less melanated people were the ones, no, not at all, were the ones who came here and did not understand Earth. And every other indigenous did. They understood how to keep themselves alive, and less melanated people didn't. I am suggesting that there was a corruption. It isn't what I'm suggesting, it's what happened. But not all of us got it. Or, better yet, a lot of us did. And we're correcting the DNA code. Many of you are correcting the DNA code. So, if we understand that there's one demographic that did not understand how to live on Earth, while many others did, all around them understood how to, even less melanated people, but there was just a certain group of less melanated people who didn't. They didn't understand it. Then what? Where did they come from? I'm only here to speak to people who are ready to hear the truth, and it will require understanding yourself outside of the avatar that you exist in. In my real form, my skin's blue. Incidentally, also very covered in markings. Even have them on my face. Yes. Here's the thing. There's a reason why you see so many women. Women were the first to be created. That was a restorative balance. That is a part of the balance that needs to be tipped to the scale. Understand? Because long before the patriarchal role, there were feminine roles, which was how it was designed to be, because the feminine would care for the masculine, the men. See, godly beings didn't want men to suffer. Okay, so understanding that overseeing them should be the female who had more compassion. I know that's a far cry from where we are right now. This is why you are all waking up. You're gods. Call it by any name. It doesn't have to be something you've heard of before. It doesn't have to be a part of a religion. Call it whatever you want. But you are. So move that way with that understanding. And it isn't to say, and I've said this before, men have it as well. Men had the seed put in them as well. But it will require them to embrace their feminine, to access it. Very simple. They must, and it's not debatable, they must accept their feminine, that it exists and should be celebrated and should be a good part that they learn about, that they learn from women. That's not a bad thing. It's already happening. Men learn from women all the time. All the time. All the time. So, whoever this was meant to land on, I hope that it did. What change would it bring? A part of me wants to tell everybody to do their shadow work and connect so that you can get the visions. Then you won't have to trust anything I say. You can get them. You can access it. Align yourself. I'll say it's me. I'm not even being a jerk. Align yourself, learn to communicate, and ask for visions. Oh, yeah. No, totally. It would change a lot. I mean this, like, just like the way that we all woke up was abrupt, or felt abrupt. The quick succession of how it will change will also feel abrupt. But it requires, and I've already seen it, it is women who rise up. Not alone. But I'll say this lovingly. I was very saddened to see the amount of men. This is a part of why I spoke to so many men when I first started. It's because I was saddened to see how little, how few. So, the good men will show up. And we leave it there. They won't be harmed by women in governing at all. So, either way, sorry, I tried to put on, this black jacket's not helping as much as I thought it would. There we go. Try to do it that way. I don't know what you mean by that. So also, yes. MJ, thank you. So ask for signs. You have the ability to communicate. You have the ability. When I'm telling you, you guys are gods, I mean it. Ask your guides to show you. Learn your magic. Quick. What we would call magic. It isn't magic, okay? It's abilities that humans have always had. Most importantly, we existed. We have always existed. God, fractals of God, large fractals of God have existed on this earth for a very, very, very long time. In the beginning, we were all. Okay. We started to have newer souls come along, and they got stuck. Outside of just fixing our country, we need to fix this entire human civilization. And it's a way of thinking. I'm going to go back to this. The revolution will not be televised because the revolution is the awakening. We have to, yes, we have to remove our programming, start fresh. I tell people, if you feel broken, it's not a bad thing. There's a beauty to being broken. You get to put yourself back. But it's important to understand when you pick up each little piece of yourself. Imagine you're a god rebuilding themselves. What would a godly being do? What would a godly being believe? Who is lesser in the eyes of a godly being? Who's deserving of suffering? Who's deserving of pain? Is anyone deserving of suffering and pain? So, understand this. Oh, that's not going to be better. Okay. Understand this. Yeah. Understand this. Has nobody ever wondered why so much effort has gone into oppressing women? For the last few thousand years, why did so many and so much effort go into oppressing women? Why did it? I mean, I asked you guys to look into the Mycenaeans and Minoans, and I asked you guys, I said, can somebody tell me why the Mycenaeans didn't attack and defeat the Minoans way earlier? Were they unable to? They weren't far. Mycenaeans attacked everyone around them, every patriarchal group around them, but they couldn't touch the Minoans for quite a while. Why? Why couldn't they? It's out of their habit. It's out of their pattern to have just left a matriarchal civilization alone. Why couldn't they get to them? Why couldn't they? So understand this. They understood they were gods. Okay. They understood it. So understand it now. For you. You've gotten yourself to this point with a kind heart, a compassionate heart, because you have God particles inside of you. This is why we could share our life story and events that have happened to us and traumas and all the things. And people would absolutely understand if we were, completely off of our rocker and an a-hole to everyone, and we're not. Why? Why are we so different than humans? Because we have been around for a very long time. We've experienced hardship. We've experienced hardship on levels I can't begin to explain to you. We've been a part of evolutions with species more times than I'll be able to explain to you. You didn't lose that light, that spark. You never lost it. Even when you thought you had, even when you thought you would, you didn't. You didn't. So, sorry, the sun keeps coming in. What do we do with this information? What do we do with it? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what I mean, is when we start to get bombarded and overwhelmed, the communications stop. Okay, the energetic port gets overloaded. Okay, it has to recalibrate. All right. This is going to sound how it's going to sound, but we do need to kind of view ourselves as a computer. Okay. And when a computer is overloaded with too many viruses, you have to get it out, right? It can't upload anything. It can't download anything because it's uploaded with too many viruses. Now, how these get viruses is simply opening. Okay, so when we open a file, we've accidentally consented. We don't realize that. Accidentally. One of them, many of them will have viruses that will corrupt our ability to upload and download information on our computer. So there was an overwhelming virus that went over everyone. The gray is what they call it. The gray. The gray is light and dark matter fuzzied to a place where you can't tell what's what, and it corrupts your cord. They call it the gray. And the color of it's gray, I think, for the most part. It corrupts the ability for the cords to get correct information. That's why you were asleep. But understand this. Understand this. It was known that at some point in this incarnation, that would clear out. And that felt jolting. I know it did. I know it did. And it still feels hard. And it still feels like we're not doing it. It still feels like we're doomed. Okay, I know. But I want to say this. The reason we feel like we're doomed is because we are accidentally consenting to the laws of men who believe themselves to be God, hoping that the gods will forget what they are. Hoping that the gods will forget what they are. And most have. So don't be one that does. See, the interesting thing about this is when we imagine gods or godly, anything godly, big wind gust, a human experience. Now we have to put this in a way of understanding that a human experience is a human experience, even if God was one of us. Okay? Remember I revisited that song with you guys. That we forget what we were. That's a part of the incarnation on earth, a part of the experience on earth. You're meant to forget because you don't learn when you know. Okay? But it wasn't meant to be this corrupted. And it got very corrupted to a point to where we have sent major fractals of God to where if people believed in a singular being God and you incarnated God here, this being would not know who they were and would likely fare very poorly because the more angelic and the more divine you are, the harder it is on you. Now, it will never take the strength. You will stick around. You will stay through it, but it is hard on you because you feel everything. You're connected to the Most High of love. So somebody that felt everything and just wanted love and compassion, imagine how hard this world is on them. If God incarnated here, and if God incarnated in the United States, this place would chew them up and spit them out. We can't deny that. So if you feel defeated, if you feel chewed up and spit out, who's to say that you're not God? We have been trained to imagine that if you don't enjoy or thrive this toxic place, that you are somehow weak. It is quite the opposite. The more godly and the more divine you are, the worse this place feels. And this is for the truly enlightened. When I say God, I want you guys to understand that there is not a hierarchy, but when I say God, I mean the creative energy is within you to create realities. In particular, women create realities and men build them. So if we accidentally forget what we are, we start to manifest accidentally a negative outcome in reality, one full of fear and oppression. This is not to say that men do not contribute. They absolutely do. But we are flipped on the head. This is undeniable, and even men would agree with this. You will not be harmed, men. You are very valued as well. This is why, for so long, you were entrusted with our care. It's a good way to think about it. You see, when you break away the binaries and the structures within this particular civilization and you live in your true self, the more divine you are, the more you understand you have been everything. You've been everything. So having to stick to one skin is a little bit difficult. You've been everything. You identify as everything. You identify with everything. It's hard to pick one. It's hard to stay in one. I understand. But what I want to share is, yes, it's not going to surprise anybody, I don't think, that those that are the outcasts in the civilization tend to carry the brightest lights, the brightest fractals of God. Those that have suffered the systemic oppression by the system understanding this might be bigger fractals of God as well. So look at this civilization and who is oppressed, who is targeted at the highest rate, and let that be your gauge for who carries the largest fractals of God. They know. They know. They knew who it was when they started oppressing and they started colonizing and they started greed. Did anybody ever wonder why gold was ever created or was ever found to be valuable? Why gold? Why not pyrite? It looks very similar. Why quartz crystal isn't as valuable as diamonds? What's the difference between them? What's the difference between a quartz crystal and a diamond? What's a few million years in carbon, right? They harvested the carbon in energy conductors, kept them in places of value, and kept them in the hands of those that ruled. Yes. Resources. Yes. So anything, all of your crystals and all of your energy conductors, gold and what have you, are just that. They're energy conductors, very potent ones. Gold is the best energy conductor that we know to have here. We don't use it because of its cost. So this might have been why you saw so many rulers, ancient rulers, with energy conductors on their heads. Extravagant gold headpieces. And then they started making jewelry out of it, and then they made it unattainable for the common person and never told you what it was actually meant for. Right? Diamonds have they are ancient. Here's the thing. And each diamond will have a piece of carbon in it, ancient carbon. They will say that they value gems by their rarity, but that's not true. The same way with metals. Gold was abundant all over. Gold in Turtle Island was so incredibly abundant, it wouldn't have needed, in theory, like if we were truly know that it was not as much about keeping it because of its value as much of certain rulers understood what it did. The energy conductor that it could provide. There is a reason why the communications happen so strongly on island. Like this, let's be clear. Some of the strongest communications from the divine to Earth were in Africa and Turtle Island, where these resources were very plentiful and abundant. That's why they were so tapped. It makes sense that the very first place that humans were created would have the highest resources and communication resources. You see what I'm saying? The highest amount. Africa had the highest amount. Oil. Well, oil is not really a resource for communication. That is actually a resource for profit. But they are the highest in gold and diamonds. Highest in gold. So if gold is an energy conductor, it is a way to energetically connect to your higher self, to the divine, to others. And it was all over this land and all over Africa until people took it in hopes that people wouldn't be able to retap. That's why gold's valuable. They know what it's meant for. They made it valuable. They made it valuable by stealing it from those they didn't want to tap, they didn't want to communicate, and they didn't want to remember who or what they were. They brutalized the understandings, the practice, the medicines, the teachings, the ancestral lineage out of these people. Is it better to imagine it was just that brutal? Or is it worse to imagine there's gold in our phones? Mm-hmm. Most panels have gold on them, have gold plating. Yeah. So if we understand this, We understand that the uptick in frequency, because you are God particles and God energy activating, okay, there's going to be even more coming through. It's going to blast out, okay, as it's been blasting out through the soul. Soul is another word for the sun. It would be the Icelandic word, actually, for sun. Soul. That's why it looks different. That's why it's not as yellow. That's why the sky looks layered. You're seeing two skies, two layers. And the reason it's white is because white is hotter. It's pushing out more of these codes, more of the information without the gold dust in the ionosphere to block the flares and information to come through, because that's been removed. Anybody wondered why the sun used to look gold? Does anybody notice that we don't have a gold sun anymore? We have a white one? No? Okay. So if you had very fine gold dust that went around the Earth's atmosphere to help deflect heat and to help deflect communication, and something removed it, then it would be unstoppable. Somebody understood that you could deflect communication by putting gold around the ionosphere. Around it. It's more hot on the skin. Yeah. It has more radiation to it. More energy. More energy, right? So when these, on the 30th, 31st, when 3 Atlas is passing closest to Earth, it's already released so many particles that are going to go out into and find their way into the sun and be pushed out through solar blasts. Keep yourself open, my love. So I told you guys before all the stuff with what they're saying about 3 Atlas, I said it is particles with information. Now I know that sounds how it's going to sound because we're so used to information being something we read in a book. Get that shit out of your head. Particles of code. Code. That's how we receive information. Information comes through us through a grid code, okay? So imagine that the universe is just a grid after grid after grid after grid, and they're chords. And if the brain can handle higher amounts of information, it can tap into these higher frequency chords. That's the best way to view it. When your cord is no longer corrupted and the less and less ego you have. So the less and less ego you have, all right? So if that's happening, you can tap into the higher dimension, higher frequency chords to get the truth and understanding. Now, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily going to be easier for you living here. However, you'll understand more of what needs to be done and how to do it because we used to know. We've been here before. We used to know. We used to know how to keep ourselves safe the way that the Minoans did from the Mycenaeans. Okay? We used to know what we were and how to drive outcomes, how to manipulate the elements and energy. But it must be for safety and the highest good. It cannot be used or abused. That's important. It can't be. Thank you, B-Action. So it can't be used or abused. This is the part of the test that we go through. The more and more that you go through, observe, the more that you feel, send positive energy, remind yourself what you are, and that it is not something, this is important. I'm about to lay on some important real quick. When we think about all the harm being done, and I know this, I've been in this place myself too. And we start to think about the people who did the harm, and we start to think about them being held accountable. Okay. We start to think about them being held accountable. And then we start to think, and we go into the dark place of thinking about all the different ways they could be held accountable and starting to actually enjoy the thought of them being held accountable. We started to enjoy the thought of someone suffering, even if we feel it's deserving. The gauge for what is deserving starts to get muddled. That is the indoctrination. The indoctrination trained us to feel that retribution was delivered through suffering. We must want everyone to heal, though we can't influence it. You will not exist around. I'm going to be very clear. You won't have to worry about bad people doing bad things. I know that sounds odd. But the reason you won't is because you will shift this reality to a place where those types of minds will have healed themselves. You see? That's what you want, for them to heal themselves. They can be of use. They have purpose. Everyone. Every single being on this planet has use and purpose. We want to see them through it. We want to see them heal. I know it was a random time, and I don't know who that message needed to go to, but it was very harshly, very directly driven for me to share that with you guys, which is a little bit more. I know you guys were wondering. Yes, I am burning sage. Sage and lavender. So, I don't know who needed to know that, but if you're wondering what you are, yes, you are an extraterrestrial. Yes. However, you're a very ancient one. Very ancient. So that's why it doesn't feel good to be human. You've been around too long to need to be human. However, your soul can handle these fractals. And there's a lot of you. A lot. So it is important to find the others, to get out of ego. It is important to observe what you have to observe, to see where this all went wrong, to unindoctrinate yourself so that when you put your energy into the new world, where do you put it? Where do you put it? What do you want to see? It's important not to leave anything out, and it's important to not recreate the same mistakes. So, it will have to be physical, but your biggest contribution is your energy, is your intention, is your medicine, your practice. Orcha. Your orcha. Remember that word. Thank you, Action. So remember your practice. Remember how to do this. And if you can, start to align with the others. Start to find the others. Okay? Now this is going to be tricky. A lot of people claiming a lot of things. Okay? I am going to say this, and this is no jab at anyone, but I know it's going to be taken that way. The guides on this are mostly important, female-bodied or female-identified. Not all. Let me be clear. But that was intentional. Not to ostracize or cast out anybody who doesn't identify. Okay? But to reset the balance. You can't reset the balance if you keep putting more weight on one scale. It is about us as beings rising up in divinity and recreating the balance. And the balance does not seek retribution or revenge. Revenge is beneath you. You are here for balance. There is no revenge that any one human can dole out, and there is no single answer. Their karmic ends will be the retribution that you'll never see, and it's not necessary for you to. It's for them. So all beings who are not quite there, you don't need to see anything to know that it's happening. You don't need to see them get what you feel that they deserve to know that it will happen. But it won't look like what we were taught. Not at all. So I want you guys to go out today I don't know where everyone is, but go outside. And I want you to, if you can, or when you get off work, if it's not too cold, I want you to be barefoot on earth. Okay? I want you to go barefoot on earth and connect yourself. Okay? Look to the sky and say, I accept my divinity as a grounded being on earth. When you're ready. But you have to mean it. The same as I told you guys to go out and introduce yourselves to your land spirits and declare yourself a person of service, but only when you mean it. Only when you mean it. And when you're a person of service, this is saying, I understand the task. I understand what I'm here to do. There is no self and there is no I in where I incarnated. I am a thought repeating itself. I am a fractal of God. Here, exactly, to steward the new earth, to foster in a new era. I am a person of service. I am a being of service. I am a fractal of service. I am one of many. And when you start to feel yourself spiral with all the bombardment by men who believe themselves to be able to imitate God, I want you to rise up and remind yourself they are imitating what you are. They are using the physical, to imitate what you are naturally. Imagine when you move physically. Well, Nat agrees. If you can only enforce your godliness through the physical, which is what they're doing, when it is naturally in you as a being, when you begin to move in the physical, imagine what you'll be. Gods don't fear those that imitate them. Gods know their power. And the power isn't to have power. It is to distribute and elevate. There is no I. There is no hierarchy. No. The entire purpose of coming here is to recreate the equity needed. And you are gods. You're gods. Yes. And I've said this before. I've tried to hint at it. I said, it is a very direct tap to God when you have a womb. You have the direct portal of where a soul enters an avatar. Who helps with that? So, I'm bluntly going to say it again. Your gods returned, okay? You are gods. This is not, and this may take a second to unindoctrinate from the formal religions you have or maybe have not. You are gods. Nothing's out of your reach. Nothing. The moment you believe it so. Nothing can harm you the moment you believe it so. Nothing's impossible the moment you believe it so. Don't let those who imitate what you are naturally convince you otherwise. Yes. See, the thing about witches is witches understood this. I'll say this anciently. They understood this. You see, each little witch or each little fractal of God has something to them, a little different. Some might say it's a gift or an enhancement of something. Some are healers with their hands. Some are sirens. Some are all kinds of different things. They understood this to be an attachment of God to them, used to heal. Sirens weren't used to entrap men. They were used to calm. They were used to connect. They used their frequencies and their voice to remind others that the divine could be standing right in front of you. Why couldn't it be in the mirror? And we all know that feeling. You've met many sirens. You see, that's the other thing they indoctrinated us to believe, is that all gifts that women carry are somehow malevolent, negative, of the devil, something bad, something needing to be controlled, when in fact it is exactly what liberates, it is exactly what corrects, and it is exactly what heals. We are witnessing people playing God who don't want healing to happen. They are doing everything in their power to keep it, not just energetically, but physically. Physically. You are God's. Walk with that. Hold your head high. They imitate what you are naturally. I'm not bullshitting about this. They imitate what you are naturally, with abuse, with rhetoric, with harm, with control, and with power. And you know gods aren't like that. You know gods are kind, healers. Gods believe in connection, love, autonomy. Why do you know that? There is inherently something in us that always knows that God is good, but why did we allow so many to convince us that God was full of wrath and vengeance and condemnation? Why did we allow it? We always knew it was wrong, right? We always knew. No, I don't. I'm a figment. So if we continue to allow them, and this is important, if we continue to allow them, I'll say it like this. There's going to be many that are going to not want to let go of their version, their understanding of God. This information is going to be very difficult because there are people who want to continue embodying an harmful, abusive civilization. So they need God to mirror that for them. God is looking at them in the face every time they look upon anything alive, and especially anytime they look upon one of you. And I know what gods want. Gods don't want more abuse, more destruction, more pain. They want balance. They want love. They want kindness. They want resolve. So bring it. Bring it. Keep yourself elevated. Keep your mind clear. Keep your thoughts strong. Keep your thoughts strong when it's hard, when it's dark, when it's painful. In the back of your mind, remember, you are what they are imitating. You already are. You are what they wish they could become. You are what they tried to be. Keep your thoughts strong. And I am a simple messenger, that's it. But when we decolonize, and I say this lovingly, when we decolonize, we know that we are all one. And we don't start from the top. We start where they hit the hardest, the most divine. The most divine of earth are the indigenous of the land. This is beyond government. All indigenous of all lands. And we are the star people, as predicted. We are meant to return it. We are meant to restore that balance. We are meant to allow these sacred beings to thrive and communicate with us as they always have. As they always have. So today, and for the days to come, keep your thoughts very strong. Keep your thoughts strong. Decolonize the best that you can. Listen to others. I want to be clear about even apps like this. It starts by giving your attention to the other sacred beings, and I've just laid out who they are. I've just spelled it out as safely as I can. Who is carrying the most and the highest fractals of God? Do not be giving your attention, your monetary support to those that don't need it, to those that have an easier walk, to those that you were indoctrinated to listen to and support. Gods know who the sacred beings are. Gods know who the true communicators are. Gods know other gods when they see them. So give your attention to the sacred voices of this earth to learn it better, because you're not of this place. And that's okay. You're here to help. So elevate and lift up those voices. They're not going to make it easy, just so we know. Fuck up an algorithm. Support your sisters. Support your sisters of color. Support the indigenous sisters. Support your sisters. Start to see the gods in them, as well as in the mirror. Start now. Please. Because it's there. Okay. Yeah. I might have to post this one. I might have to download it and post it. So I'll do that on YouTube. Good. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to download it. All right. I did want to share with you guys before I jump off really quick. The wind blows are so. Yeah, no, I'm gonna download it. I'll put it on YouTube. I'll put it on YouTube for you guys. This morning when I came, yeah, no, I will. I promise. I'll get off here and do that. This morning when I was receiving, when I went into channel, the song that actually helped put me there, believe it or not, I was just listening to music. Just say there. And as I was listening to music, I found this one by Florence and the Machine. Whatever. But it was, as soon as it was done, it was like, and I'd heard it before, but I was like, holy shit, I have to go say this. I have to tell, like, something was like, get online and tell, you have to do this right now. That's why I was like, all right, I'm coming on at 222. So there's a song by Florence and the Machine called Various Storms and Saints. I want everybody to listen. Various Storms and Saints by Florence and the Machine. Listen. Yes. Yeah. And I'll say this. The truest sisters know that we are all sisters, okay? We don't divvy ourselves up. We support. We love to see one another elevated. We love it. Because a God can recognize another God. Same name. Same name. Yeah, I'm like, I need to eat something. Woo. If you don't follow me on here, if you want to, but also I do post some of my lives on YouTube. Eventually, I think I might be going over to YouTube I don't know, there's been a lot going on. But at some point I'm going to, we'll see. We'll see what happens. As we amp up, I've said this before, the channel is getting stronger. And I have less ability to filter what I say, and which is okay, which is fine. You know, I don't need to filter what I say. I shouldn't. But, you know, I'm a little better about it when I'm more present in the discussion. So understand this. This is a kind of a part of what it is. The aspect of that chord I talked about that got muddled with the gray, that can also reach your highest consciousness. So when you see people channeling or you witness somebody, they are communicating from their highest consciousness, which is not this a-hole, their highest consciousness, okay? Which is a form of God. But we almost feel the need to make it external with people, like as if we're channeling another being or another whatever, because we've been so conditioned to believe that if we assign it to ourselves too much, that it'll make us seem like we're completely out of our minds. But you have all been communicating with gods for a very long time. You know what I mean? Very long time. I don't need to tell you that. You know. So, listen to the song I told you guys about. Just listen to it. Breathe it out. If it hurts, if it's hard, if this place is difficult, it's because you're not from here. Align yourself. And remember, you are what they imitate. Focus your energy on what needs to be focused on. Elevate. Elevate. Exactly. The flower doesn't concern itself with how loud the sun is shining. It blooms anyway. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's the thing about it is this can't be stopped. All right? I don't need to, you know, as out of control as everyone may feel with everything going on in the political and the physical, and it feels like it can't be stopped, understand that this divine intervention can't either. They're doing their best. But an awakened and evolved mind is multiple times more powerful than a disconnected and hollowed human. It is multiple times more powerful than an asleep human. Once you understand what you are, you've accepted what you are. You focus your energy where it needs to go. And it is important, while it is okay to focus on personal things in your life and how to redirect and how to correct things within personal life, when we think about the global scale and global impact, make sure that our energy, make sure that our energy is going where it needs to. Big one confirmation on that one. The song that I was recommending to everyone, I don't want to missay it. It is Various Storms and Saints by Florence and the Machine. Various Storms and Saints. Music, by the way, music will help you a lot throughout this. There's some others. There are some beings like us that are making music. I think you guys know. But it won't necessarily be the ones that you think. And some will. I told y'all about T Swift. Told y'all to keep an eye on T Swift. Don't let them bring her down. Understand that. Don't let wounded little boys bring down T Swift. Support your sister. And keep up with her code. She's elevating. It's getting more difficult. Grow with her. Now I say Florence and the Machine. I can say Aniko. These are people. There's more, by the way. There's quite a few. People wouldn't expect it to be old T Swift, though. Anybody ever wondered why? Yeah. Never mind. People can think I'm crazy. There's a reason why there's a specific energy around her. There's a reason why she has a fan base that she does, and there's a reason why she's untouchable. She's helping the younger ones. She's helping the younger ones to have less feelings of exclusivity, isolation, weakness, subservience. She's showing the younger ones how to exist while you're being scrutinized, while you're being targeted, while you're being mocked, while you're being shamed. This is important because weak boys can't stop. And they've been indoctrinated to go after women and girls. But I'm going to say this even further. Not the ones we have coming up. The ones they're scared about. That's why they're going after autism. Get this. Autistic men are the correct design. That's not how it's going to sound. What we would consider high-functioning autism. Autistic men are the correct design. They don't allow their personal emotions to influence what they know is right, what they know is correct, what they know would be better. And get this. They actually prefer, they've done studies on this, autistic men prefer direction. Autistic women tend to want to give direction. Autistic men get overwhelmed with too much indecision. That's why I've said if you are with an autistic man and you tell him to get you a bag of chips, ask him to get you a bag of chips, be specific, because he's going to pace the aisle for 2 hours wanting to make sure he brings you home the right bag of chips. And he's going to either come home with the entire one bag of every kind, or he's going to be, screaming in the supermarket. They like to be told exactly because they like that dopamine rush of knowing that they've brought something to you that you wanted. They don't want to have to guess with their emotions because they don't involve their own personal emotion. When they have to, it overwhelms them. They are the perfect design. They are gentle. They receive the highest rush of dopamine with the approval of a woman they respect. They're gentle. So old T Swift is helping the younger versions, and there's others after her too. She's not the only one. She's not the only young one. Are also helping girls and women to stay strong, to stay in their footing, to become the loving, nurturing leaders that they can be. See, there's this misperception that women must give their softness away if they go into governing or leadership. It's false. It's false. Your softness can stay. Your gentleness, your compassion, your desire to see everyone thrive. In fact, it's the most crucial thing to why you make such great leaders. Because you care. So carrying that and knowing how to also be kind to men, redirect men. Direct men in a way that helps them to thrive. Not, again, we can't compare the current system to what it will look like on its head. It won't be what men did to women flipped over. It won't. It won't. But the ones that have been very indoctrinated are not going to want it even if they know that. That's why they pushed out so much of the RADPILL content. They want men to go against their own design. The design to be contributors, the design to be participants. You see what I'm saying? They have value, but what they've defined a high value man is incorrect. They think it's money. No. No. So that's why they're going after him. This is cosmic. They know it. So we should too. Maybe that's why I was supposed to tell you guys. So remember that when you're getting down. Remember that when it's hard. Remember that when you're elevating. Gods recognize other gods. Gods don't fear man who imitate them. Not at all. And with that, I'm probably going to bid you guys adieu. Go outside today. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. You're not helpless. Don't be fooled. Start creating it. To bring forth this reality, start seeing it. Start seeing it and creating it as powerfully as you can. But it starts by elevating all. It starts by understanding that returning this land is important. That revenge aligns us with old systems, and it isn't godly. We love all. Godly people and godly beings love all. They want everyone to heal. They want everyone to be okay. But you won't have to worry about the bad ones. You'll see. Drink water as much as you can. That's okay. It's okay to work out the anger when you feel it. It's not that if you get angry or upset that you're just not there. You're navigating a human brain, human experience. It's not easy. I have those moments too. Honor the moments that you have. Acknowledge they're temporary. Okay? They're temporary. You're not defeated. You're having a moment of defeat. You're not depressed. You're having a moment of depression. That's it. That's all it is. It'll go away. It'll pass. And when you see the behavior, the bombardment, and you feel helpless, remind yourself that these are who are imitating what you are naturally. And don't sweat the small stuff. Move in the divine, not the flesh. Give yourself a lot of grace and patience. Forgive yourself for every version past. Honor that version. They suffered through whatever they suffered through to get you here with a kind heart. Honor them. Honor them. They suffered. They were a godly being when they were going through that too. They were. That's why you feel guilt. You know what you are deep down. And you know that some of the behaviors or some of the situations that you kept yourself in may not reflect what we consider a godly being. The only reason you feel that way and you take that accountability is because you know what you are and you expect more out of yourself. Give yourself patience. It's not easy to make it through here. And they've set it up so you would not remember. They knew we were coming. And now we're here. So let's remind ourselves. Let's remind ourselves of that. And they will get the retribution or the revenge or whatever it is, the accountability as it's seen fit outside of us. They're no longer a part of your reality. Give your attention to those. Give your attention to those that bring forth the reality. That's how you do it. Parasitic energy does not care what type of energy it gets. It doesn't care if it's bad energy, anger, love, fear. It doesn't care. So give it none. Parasitic energy won't care what type of energy it gets. So spend less time casting condemnation and more time elevating. Because we feed it unknowingly. We feed them God energy with our attention alone. Save it. Save it for the others. All right, my loves. Have a beautiful day. Take care of yourself. Hydrate. Connect. You're gods. You're gods. I love you guys. All of your stories are valid. All of your lives are worth fighting for. Take care.